Hello everyone, welcome to the event All Open Source Enthusiasts. And I know you all are very excited. I am Ruchika Modgil, Program Manager of GirlScript Summer of Code, and I welcome you all to the event. Brief introduction of the event. Brief introduction of our program GirlScript Summer of Code 2021. GirlScript Summer of Code is a 3-month open source program conducted every year during summers. And I know you all are very excited. Can I see in the chat section? Right, you are excited. Right, excited. Chat section. Yes. So, girls. So let me again come back to the introduction of GirlScript Summer of Code. 3-month long open source program conducted every year during summers, and it started in 2018. And thank you everyone for always loving and supporting us. And this year too, we are expecting a great applications from all of you. And the main motive of GirlScript Code is to promote the value of open source among beginners and to get them started with open source development. So here we are with the timeline of 2021. So on January, we released the forms for project applications and campus ambassadors, and the both is 30th Jan. And from 25th January to 31st of January, we will start announcing the selected organizations for the program. And from 1st of the February, applications for mentors and participants will be out. So the deadline for the same is 15th February. So I know you all are waiting for when the applications will start, like when we can participate. So I think I cleared most of your doubts. And by 20th of February, you all will get the mails like who are selected as participants and mentors. And from 24th of February, community bonding sessions will start. And from the 1st of March, coding will begin. And for continuously 3 months, coding will be coding will you will contribute to your projects with experienced mentors, and of course top participants will get exciting opportunities and rewards. So I think I have cleared most of your doubts. So you have any more doubt, just scan this QR code and it will revert to you most of the social media platforms of GirlScript Summer of Code. So if you have any, just ping us on Instagram or LinkedIn of GirlScript Summer of Code. We will try to get back to you as soon as possible. So GirlScript Summer of Code program. And so without wasting any more time, let's welcome our today's speaker, Eddie. And I know you all know him, and but let me introduce him. He is an eminent professional in open source and he will love to help you all. So if you have any queries during the session, you can just write in the chat section. And so let me take the leave now. It's happy learning. So Eddie, you can start.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me here. It's amazing to geek out with you all. I'm super excited.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm super excited to not only share some of my knowledge, but also to find out what questions people have. This is the most exciting part. Please, all of you, write your questions in the chat. Try and keep up with them. Ask as we go along. Apologies if you miss any. You might no. So today, what are we going to talk about? What is open source? What is GitHub? Why you should care? How can it accelerate your career? How to get into open source, how to stand out. My favorite part, the Q&A. But we're going to try and do the Q&A as we go along. Right, a little bit about me. As mentioned, been a developer for over 15 years, been open source over 10. And my biggest regret in my entire career is I didn't get involved in open source sooner. So hopefully you will learn from that, and hopefully you will get involved in open source yesterday. It is the best thing. Remember, it's not just about more about collaboration first and second. And also, 3 years ago, I started sharing my knowledge on YouTube. Again, which is soon. But remember, when I started open source over 10 years ago, we didn't have GitHub. We didn't have social coding platform. It wasn't like each project servers, you sign things into
Uh,
those servers.
Eddie, sorry to interrupt you. Your voice is lagging.
Let me change. Hopefully this is any better.
Yeah, yeah, it's better now.
Okay, so shall I start from the beginning or should I just continue?
It's your choice.
How bad was it? Were people able to hear it or not really?
We are not able to understand some words, so you can start from the beginning.
Okay. Apologies, everyone. It wouldn't be a live session without technical issues, of course. So, in today's session, we're going to talk about what is open source and what is GitHub, why you should care, how it can accelerate your career, and how to get into open source and how to stand out, because you're right, it is crowded and busy. And my favorite part, Q&A. But I really hope that you ask questions as we go along. If I miss any, I'm sorry. Copy and paste them like 5 minutes later and hopefully I see it, but the mods will help as well. And I'm conscious of the clock, so I'm going to very quickly gloss over this little bit about me. Being a full stack developer for 15 years, I got into open source over 10 years ago. My biggest regret in my career is not starting open source sooner. But bear in mind, back then we didn't have GitHub, we didn't have Git, there was no social coding platform, GitHub. Each project had their own servers, and you had to sign forms to get access and create SSH keys for different servers. It was hard work, very, very hard work. Now it's a lot easier, and we're going to go through that today. So my goal is to share my knowledge of open source, contribute to open source, and get you into open source. So let's just jump straight into it. So as I mentioned, open source is, and I'm going to share my screen and show you some GitHub shortly. But as I mentioned, open source is social coding, and it's more about collaboration first and coding second. So don't think that you can only contribute to open source with code. That is actually a very old-fashioned way of thinking of it. And yes, it started that way, but it's not that way anymore. And we'll go dig further into that. So, and I believe open source is for everybody. You don't have to be a developer to get into open source. And actually, if you're not a developer or you don't want to get into coding longer term, getting into open source is really good because we need those different perspectives. Projects out there are not just by one developer, they're not just by 10 developers. There are actually UX people, testers, designers, so many other skills involved, and that's really, really important. You may be thinking, oh, wow, this all sounds great, but it sounds like a lot of hard work. I'm not going to lie to you, it's not hard, but it's not easy, and we'll dig into that. So why you should care about open source is because it will accelerate your learning and career, not just in the technical side, but also in your communication side. Like when I interview someone for one of my clients or one of my projects, I can clearly see if someone contributes to open source because they express themselves very differently, be it written, be it verbally. Because when you get into open source, you realize that people's time is precious. And if you want to stand out, you need to help people understand what you're trying to say. So, for example, a lot of people, if we had a conversation right now and I said, oh, great, raise an issue and I'll have a look at that
tomorrow or something. For people, the first time they raise an issue, they'll write, following our conversation, we should talk about X. But for someone who is, been in open source for a short while, understands, they will know that just saying, following our discussion doesn't help. Between now and me looking at the issue, say tomorrow, I'm going to have 100 other discussions. So it's very hard for me to understand what we're talking about. I have to search for your name in my Discord, your name in Twitter DMs, see where we had this conversation. Whereas someone who's used to open source will quote and put, following our discussion, and either copy and paste it from Discord or Twitter DM or whatever it is, and therefore give some context. And that's why those issues, those pull requests get merged, get addressed first, because you're making it easier. And we're going to look at some examples and look at Markdown, how else you can use in Markdown to help it stand out. So by getting involved in open source, you're going to really help your communication skills, and you're going to grow your network, and of course, you're going to learn your technical skills. And also, I know a lot of you are thinking, okay, great, okay, can it accelerate my skills, my career? Can I make money from open source? I want to spend a very small amount of time on this. But again, you can raise it in the Q&A. My success, 100%, has been from open source, not by having an amazing LinkedIn profile. In fact, I've reduced my LinkedIn profile over the years, reduced and reduced and reduced. If you look at it, I don't have a work history. I've worked for high street banks in the UK, government departments, fintechs, all sorts. They're not on there because they just created more spam for me. And I try to reduce that by reducing all the information I have on LinkedIn. And I've never got any work from LinkedIn. Everything has been from GitHub. People have contacted me, maybe on LinkedIn, so it's good to have a presence, but they've said, I've looked for your GitHub profile. I love the way you collaborate on this project. I love the way you communicate. We need someone like you on our team, whatever that is. So on LinkedIn, you can write whatever you want. On GitHub, you also can write whatever you want, but it sticks with you. It's like your audit trail of your tech career. Now, that's really important. So when you do contribute, don't just contribute, think pull request, pull request, pull request, think conversation. Going back to when I interview people, I don't look at their code. Okay, I do, I'll come back to that. But it's not the first thing I look at. The first thing I look at is, does their profile stand out? So it's really important to have a customized profile. It's important to have an active profile. But the first thing I really look at is how you communicate and collaborate with other people. I want to look how you reply to other people's issues. How do you review other people's pull requests? That's why it's really important to get involved in the conversation. Then second, I want to see how you raise issues and raise pull requests. And I want to see how clear it is for other people to understand it. And then third, I'll look at your code and see, how is it? But not just, is it consistent? That's the most important thing. But the other most important thing is, have you improved between today and 3 months ago? So it's not so important how amazing your code is today. It's important how much you've improved. That's why you must put all your projects on there. It has a negative effect when someone's going for an interview and the weekend before they have like 100 commits that weekend and nothing before that. It looks terrible. It looks like they're just trying specifically for that interview or that meeting or that event or whatever it is. So I highly suggest that you have an active profile, and it's little and often. Don't think you have to do all weekend, every evening. It's, some of you who know me might recognize this, but it's like brushing your teeth. You need to do it little and often. You don't wake up in the morning or before you go to bed. You don't go, I need to go brush my teeth. What a mission. It's a lot of work. No, you just do it. And if you fell asleep in front of the TV on the couch and you missed one day, your teeth aren't going to fall out. They're not going to go yellow or black or whatever it is. And the same with open source. Try to do a little every day, not coding, a little contribution or collaboration every day. And then over the years, just like brushing your teeth, it will really add benefit to you. So that's really, really important. And so it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's something that took me a long time to figure out, and I figured it out. I want to share it, definitely. And I mentioned this section is about making money. Yes, you can make money directly by having GitHub sponsors. So people can sponsor you if you contribute to their project or adding value to their community. They might sponsor you monthly. It's not available in every country yet, but if you do, you can sign up now, and then GitHub prioritizes, I think, the most popular countries and all the rest. So do sign up. It'll notify you when things change. But indirectly is where you can make money from open source. So most of my money that I make is indirectly. clients look at my open source work or collaborations and say, we really like that, can you join us? And they don't negotiate down, they negotiate up, because it's that whole supply and demand. And that's what I want for all of you. I want jobs to come to you. I want internships to come to you. I want projects to come to you. But it takes time. This is not like a quick win solution overnight. It is going to take time. That's why you need to start today. So how to get into open source, right? This is what we're talking about. I'd be interested to know in the chat if people have contributed to open source or not already. You know, write in the chat open source if you have already, or write not yet, I guess, if you haven't, and hopefully that will change today. So I mentioned don't do it all in one weekend and nothing for months. I mentioned all that, and a good place to start is customizing your GitHub repo. So I don't know if you're aware, but you can customize your GitHub repo, so your GitHub profile, by having a repo with the same name as your username, exactly the same. And you can customize it. Anything in that repo's README will appear on your profile, which will again help you stand out. And don't worry about making it perfect. I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna post it or share it until it's absolutely perfect." Oh, not a lot of not yet in the chat. Okay, we're gonna change that. So do have a think and let me know in the chat shortly. What I'll take a break and I'll get some of your questions. Why not yet? I'd be interested to know what your challenges are. Is it because you can't find a project? Is it because you're nervous about making a mistake? Is it because, I don't know, something else? So have a think about why and then share it in the chat and we'll get back to that. I want to address those because I really want to show people that it's not scary. People want you to contribute. People want you to collaborate. I'll show you how to find projects. So awesome, not yet, but really I didn't know where to start, not yet, but I'm really eager to do it. Awesome, loving this. Okay, a few yeses, but mostly not yet. So we're gonna change that today. And remember, your first customized profile, your first issue, your first pull request, it's not gonna be great. I promise you it won't be great. But I also do promise you that your 10th one will be better than your first. And your 100th one will be better than your 10th. That's why you need to keep doing it all the time. I see some more questions in. I will get to those in a few minutes. We'll take a break and have a look at those because I love these questions. They're my favorite parts. I get to learn too. I get to learn about what your challenges are and your perspectives and your point of views, which is really, really important and really valuable to me. So thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. Okay. And so when you want to contribute something, don't think, like, let me give you an example. Someone in our community wanted to create a template file. I think it was a contributors file to our repo. And they said, right, I'm going to spend the next week on it. I want to write a great page. It's going to be awesome. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple. At the moment, we have nothing. We have no contributors file. So if you create that and put one line in it, that adds value to the community because that one line is not there at the moment. So they get value. And not only that, now that the file's there, other people can now contribute to it more easily. So it's really important to add value and do it little and often. So if you want to customize your GitHub profile, just add one line about yourself, or even a link to your social profiles. It doesn't really matter, but that is already adding value and other people can contribute more and so forth. Okay, I see the chat going. This is awesome. So let's have a look. Starting off with a large code base is intimidating. How do I get started going through a large code base or running it for the first time on my PC? Sakshi, hopefully I pronounced your name right. Really great question. There are a couple of things you can do. One is don't go for a large code base straight away. It can be off-putting because there is a lot to understand and to learn. Not only that, the project probably moves faster. So if we take a big popular project that everyone wants to contribute to, like React, for example, it's a big project, but it moves very, very fast. So once you create a pull request, by the time it gets reviewed, the code base has moved on. So you might more likely to have conflicts. And then by the time you resolve those conflicts, the code base has moved on again and you've got more conflicts. So it can be quite off-putting. So I wouldn't try and go for the largest project. I would look for a project that goes at a speed that you want, that maybe includes technologies you want, maybe is really inclusive and collaborative. And you'll never find the perfect project at the beginning. Once you get involved in the community discussion and you follow people on GitHub, GitHub's a social platform. Once you follow people, you'll see what projects they're getting involved in and contributing to. Then you will see, oh, maybe I'll look at that project. So you'll never find the perfect project straight away. You need to get involved. So I would try and pick a smaller project to get involved with, get used to the workflow, get used to forking the project, creating a branch, get used to doing the commit message. And we're going to get into that. I have got some examples to show. And that's really important. And then like I don't know, it's like trying to run before you can walk. So I wouldn't, if you try and run before you can walk, you're going to fall over, it's not going to be fun. Then once you get to those bigger projects, you'll be so much more comfortable with the process. You'll probably know people on the projects who can help you and give you suggestions and guidance, because these projects want to help you, but they don't want to help someone who might just come for a few days and just as a tick box exercise and disappear. Whereas when you get involved in the conversation, the more you add value, the more they're going to help. And remember, you can add value by asking questions. Like in the documentation, I was following this. So the second part of your question, Sakshi, was get it running on my PC. So if you're going through the documentation and you find a problem, raise it, ask the question, say, look, I followed this, but these are the challenges that I had. And that's really good feedback. And then they can improve the documentation, or even you can improve the documentation. But when you raise the issue, make sure it isn't just, I've got an error, or just a screenshot of the error, nothing else. You've got to give it some context. And I wanted to dig into this in a bit, so I'll get back to that. Don't know where to start. Join some communities. You know, we've got the EdiHub community, which encourages people to get involved in open source. We actually share really great issues people can create to get them started, from discussions to pull requests. Our community is awesome. I'm really going to give the credit to my community. They're amazing. And they really want to get everybody to get their green square and to encourage them to get into open source. But, you know, look at your friends' projects and see what they're contributing to. And I want to show you how to find an inclusive project on GitHub. So I will share my screen in a minute and get back to that. I've started but not posted anything, but I have contributed to a group. Okay, great. That sounds good. Keep doing that, and then you'll get more comfortable doing more. Where to start with a project? Each project is different. So some projects need more, well, actually all projects probably need more documentation. So that's really, really important. That's always lacking. I think the more seasoned developers just want to kind of code new features, code the fun stuff. So usually automated tests, documentation are always really, really lacking. So another thing you can do in addition to documentation is improve the code quality by adding automated tests, improving the code coverage and so forth. Devraj says, I contributed to open source and MLH. Awesome. And SWOC. Cool. Unable to choose, don't know where to start. Okay, let's maybe share some screen and see stuff. But actually, I see one more great question. It's intimidating because I don't know what I have to learn beforehand. I see projects and see technologies used that I've never even knew existed. So what's the basic skills required? Megha, if I pronounce your name right, that is a really great question, but that's never going to change. And I don't want to scare everybody, but even my friend was showing me a project yesterday, and it had dependencies, NPM dependencies that I hadn't heard of before or used before. And I was like, well, that sounds really cool. So getting involved in open source is a great way to discover other great tools and libraries out there that can really help your projects. I'm thinking, great, I want to use that dependency next to my project. That's a really great way that helped me develop faster. So it is scary but exciting at the same time. So don't let that put you off. That's actually a valuable thing. It is actually valuable to be made aware of these. So you know what? Let me share my screen. So let me know if you can all see this, hopefully. And this is my GitHub profile. So again, you can follow me on GitHub if you want to see what projects I'm contributing to and so forth. You can also, again, let me just show you some green squares. I haven't got loads of green squares, but I've got active green squares, which I want all of you to have. It doesn't have to be, completely green, but it needs to be active. And then we have a GitHub organization that you're welcome to join. You just need to raise an issue on the support repo with the type, invite me to the organization, and that way you get an organization on your profile. So here you go to the support repo, you go new issue, we have these different templates. You can go invite me to my GitHub organization. And you can also ask me to review and the community to review your open source projects. So you just click on that and you can get started. But what I want to show you, if I pick a repo, so I pick the support repo, and let me try and address some of these questions. So you can see this was 17 hours ago was the last change. This project is moving at a medium speed, let's say, slow to medium. There are projects that move a lot faster and there are projects that move slower. So find one that goes at the pace. And the way you can find a project is you can go to issues at the top, and initially it will list all your issues. What you can do is actually delete these search parameters, and you could put a label. And then once you've got a label, you could do it by clicking on one of these labels here as well. But also you can then filter by language, and you can filter by multiple labels and multiple languages. And if I hit enter, now it's going to show me all the repos on GitHub that that match my search. So that's how you can discover some projects. But there are some secret tips I'm going to give you. If I pick a project, I don't know this project, I'm just going to pick the first one. Yeah, it's good first issue. They're encouraging people. Okay. That got merged already. Let's pick another one. So good first issue, add a license file. Okay, so you can have a look at that. But the other thing I recommend doing, don't look at the stars, don't look at the forks. That's not really, doesn't mean anything at all. The important thing is to look at the project. So if we go to the beginning of the project, now we found a project. Does it have branches? Okay, it has 2 branches. Great. Does it have a description? Great. Hasn't got any releases yet. It has a README of how to get started. Okay, that looks really interesting. Animated GIFs. Okay, it looks like they're making an effort. The next thing I want you to look at is, do they have a code of conduct? So you can go to the Insights tab along the top. And then down the left, you can go to Community. And here you can see where they've got a description, they've got a README, but they haven't got a code of conduct. You might not want to contribute to a project that doesn't have a code of conduct, because then if people are other people in the community are a bit idiots, then they won't enforce that. But you could always contribute a code of conduct as well. So that's something else you can do. Another tip I want you to look at is go to the pull requests and go to the close pull request. This hasn't got very many, so it might be hard to show you. But if you look at these pull requests, these have all been merged. But if it's got a red icon that says it's been closed and not merged, that's fine. The project maintainer can do that. That's not a problem. But was it closed in a friendly way? Did the project maintainer say, thank you so much for your pull request, but this is something, a feature we don't want right now. Have a look at this other issue. That's fine for the project maintainer to do that. And they're giving you guidance of what to do next. But if it's just closed with no comment, if it's closed by the author of the PR, that's also fine. But if it's closed by somebody else, one of the project maintainers, with no comment or no reason why it was closed, you probably don't want to contribute to that repository, because they don't seem to want contributions, and that can be very disheartening. So I recommend checking that. And the way to not waste too much time making a pull request is raise an issue first. If you've got an idea, for example, this had no code of conduct. They've mentioned add a license. So what we can do is we can say add code of conduct. So before doing the work, the issue is to start the conversation, right? So now I've started the conversation. And then when the project maintainer says, yes, please, that'd be great, you can create a pull request and do those changes. And then it's more likely your pull request to get merged. But to be honest, as I mentioned, it's important to make your issues and pull requests stand out. And this looks terrible. It looks really bad. I've just put this, made no effort at all. So what I would suggest is using Markdown and make some improvements. The things that you could do is you can drag and drop an image. So I showed you the Insights tab had, it doesn't look very good with these dots. So I could take a screenshot of that and drop it in. So I'll take a screenshot. Actually, I'll include their project so they know it's for their project. Again, just makes it a bit easier. So if I take a screenshot of that, so I can drag and drop that in, and we can explain why it's important. So we can say having a code of conduct, it makes a project more inclusive and more people will want to get involved. And then we can also put, there are templates you can use for code of conducts. You don't have to write one from scratch. So GitHub presents 2, but one of my favorites is the open source code of conduct. I forget what it's called. But yeah, here we go, this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that link, and I want to put it in the issue. Good code of conduct is okay. So we're making this a lot better, right? I haven't used any Markdown yet. So if you want to use some Markdown to make it nicer, we could remove that, and then you could wrap this in Markdown. So you've got these helpers along the top if you want as well. So by all means use that. And I mentioned about dragging and dropping an image in. So let me just grab this off my other screen. Oh, here we go. I've got it here. Drop screenshots. Just drop that in. And again, it just makes it stand out more. It looks like you've made an effort. It's less likely for the maintainer. I'll just update that. It's less likely for the maintainer to want to get involved in the conversation if you haven't made it easier for them to understand, what the benefits and reasons why. You don't have to write a huge essay, but it's important to do that. And so the same for the pull request. But let me just show you a few more tips and tricks with Markdown. I'll do it at the bottom here, and I won't submit it, but I can show you in the preview. Some good examples are items. You got item, say item 1 and item 2. But so when you render that, if I show you a preview, it's behind my head, isn't it? Let me do it at the top instead. So I can show you as an example. People do not use Markdown enough. It doesn't mean you have to use every feature, but it really, really helps. So you've got two bullet points. But if you want to be fancy, you can then put these square blocks, which is like a checklist, and then it appears like this. And then on the issue list and pull request list, it will show how many have been ticked, like 4 out of 5 or whatever it is. And that's really important. If you want to tick it, you can also tick it, or you can just put an X in it, and it appears ticked like that, which is really, really awesome. There's headers. You've probably seen those before. Importance of code. I'll do shorthand, code of conduct. And again, I can't spell importance, but you get the idea. Again, it just helps so much. And you can wrap double quotes around things to make it bold, double quotes, double asterisk around things to make it bold, single to make it italic. So I might leave that as bold. I quite like that. There's lots of things. Have a play up here. What else we've got? You can insert code. One thing about inserting code, it's really important to use code highlighting. This is like just unused. It's not used enough, and it will really help you stand out. And I'm going to show you one extra trick with this, which is awesome. So for example, if I wanted to show you some code, I don't know, just do a console log. Console log, hello. Right, so that will appear as a code block. But if I did it as JavaScript, it will syntax highlight it and make it easier to read. And okay, it doesn't stand out a lot here, but when you're doing it on with 5-10 lines of code, it does make it a lot easier. But the other thing I want to say, what I find weird is when people say, I think we should change this line from, and you got the from. Let me go, if I just copy this to make it a bit quicker, and go to, and just say, I don't know, by or something. And it just, it's harder to read, and it just takes up a lot of space, especially when you've got a lot of other things going on. So the trick that I want to show you is, why not put it in a single code block? Change this line to, that's it. And in here, instead of putting JS or another language, put diff, and then you put, if you've got another line, up here, for example, I don't know, logging, you don't want to change that, leave that how it is. But then the one you want to remove, put a minus, and the one you want to add, put a plus. So when you preview it, it straight away highlights in red what you want to remove and what you want to add. And this is just how to take your issues and your pull requests and your comments on other people's issues and inline comments on pull requests to the next level. That's really, really useful and important to do that. So let me delete that, and let me just leave it as it was in bold. Just preview that and check and do an update. Okay, awesome, that's done. Right, let me look at some of these questions we've got. Can you share your story of your first PR? Nihal, great question. It's quite a short story. I fixed the typo. Yeah, nothing exciting. My first pull request, it wasn't a pull request at the time, but my first contribution to open source was I fixed a typo. And actually, let's tell the truth here. We're friends here, no secrets. My second, third, fifth, and probably 10th contribution was fixing typos. But as I got familiar with how to contribute, as I got familiar with a bit more with the community, then I started improving the code coverage. So they had automated tests, but there were some sections that weren't covered. So I started improving that. And then I started adding more tests myself, and I started adding more features. And so it's very hard to jump into a project and just add a feature. It's hard for anybody, no matter what level you're at. So don't make it hard for yourself. You're not going to go to the gym and try and, I don't know, lift like 100 kilos. You're probably going to lift like 10 and then 12 and then, I don't know, 15 and 20 and so forth. And as you get better at it and as you see your body improving, you're getting stronger, you're going to increase it and keep challenging yourself. It's important to keep challenging yourself. But if you went into that gym and tried to lift 100 kilos and you couldn't move it, then you haven't benefited and you're probably not going to go back to the gym. So keep that in mind. What are the basic skills needed to get into GitHub? Yash, none really. You don't need any basic skills to get in. You just need the motivation to do it. My video editor uses GitHub. My technical writer uses GitHub because I use the project boards on GitHub. So I haven't shown this yet. So if I go back to my profile and you've got project boards at the top, if I open that in a new tab, and I've got various project boards. So if I just pick one, you can see from here that I've got a project board. It's how I manage my work and my team's work and so forth. And we can assign these to different people and we can drag them across the different columns. So you don't have to use every feature on GitHub, but there are some awesome features that can really help. I don't understand why projects still use Jira or Trello or anything like that. Everything is on GitHub because then you can tie these to the code. So for example, as you can see here, it says 0 out of 3 tasks done. So that also shows you about the checkboxes. So these are the checkboxes. As they get ticked, that will update. So at a glance, you can really see, which is really important. You can tie code to issues, and I'll show you that in the commit message in a moment. But yeah, it's important to get organized and get involved in the conversation. To look at issues on the project, do reply to them. If someone raises a bug on the project and says, hey, in this browser, in this node version, or whatever it is, this is a bug I get, and you're using that project and you've got a different version, well, you could say, hey, well, in this version, I get the same bug, or I don't, it works. That adds value to that issue, and then other people in the community will want to help you more. Okay, let's have a look. Questions I miss. My first contribution was for Hacktoberfest. Awesome. Have I missed any questions? What are the basic things, Archie, what are the basic things or language we should know before getting into a project? Archie, just get involved in the project because your fresh pair of eyes can add so much value to a project. With my client projects, I love it when I get someone new join the team, and especially if they're more, less experienced. I don't like using the word junior and senior, so less experienced. I actually really like that because I can give them the GitHub repo and say, tell me what this project's about, try and start it on your machine. And they sometimes, a lot of the time, say, but I don't know what the project is. You have to show me. It's like, no, because if there are missing gaps in the project, you'll find it, you'll ask questions, and we'll improve it for the next person. It's always about adding value and making improvements. And I always say to people, if a project you can't run on your computer, you don't understand what the project does, it's not something wrong with you, it's something wrong with our project. We haven't made it clear, we haven't done enough documentation, or we've made assumptions, and that happens most of the time. So by being new to GitHub, by being new to a project, by being new to tech, by being new to all three, you can add so much value. And by adding value and asking questions and making it easier for the maintainers and other people and you to make those improvements, people will love you for it. They'll welcome that. On the inclusive projects, we're ignoring the ones that just close all the PRs without even looking at them. Talking about most of the projects that are really inclusive. Okay. Why you choose open source contribution? I mentioned that at the beginning, as in it will help you. It's better than any CV. It's better than any LinkedIn profile. Your GitHub profile is the strongest thing. It's only getting stronger. And also you'll learn more about tech, other libraries that are out there, and also how to communicate better. Let's have a look. So TechnoClass, I hope that answers that question. How to find good mentors on GitHub. Nihal, don't try and get one mentor, because if you said to someone, hey, be my mentor, there's a lot of responsibility for them. But if you ask them a question, they're probably going to answer it. So I highly recommend having multiple mentors. You know, if I'm honest, you're all my mentor. I can learn from all of you because you have different experiences. You look at things with different perspectives, and that adds value. And that's why I love your questions. That's why I love all of you getting involved in our community open source projects, because we can all learn from you, and hopefully we can teach you something as well. It's all about, you know, teaching other people, well, basically sharing what you know and learning from others. So I think that's really, really important. Being motivated. How can I remove the fear of contributing? I did a live stream on this recently, and it went very, very well. Maybe I'll do another one soon. But in a nutshell, go to a friend's project or one of our projects and raise an issue as a test issue, and or raise a question, and that's how you can get started. But if you're really, really nervous, I will show you how it's not scary. Go raise a terrible issue on one of our repos, and we'll just close it. And I promise you, we won't die, you won't die, we won't cry, and everything will be fine. And then once you've done that, whatever you do afterwards is going to be so much better. Obviously, try and raise an issue that adds value, or ask a question because something isn't clear, because that does add value. But if you do just want to just break that ice, then you can just raise a test issue on our repo, get the green square for today, and we won't mind. You can even close the issue yourself if you want. But trust me, no GitHub issues will be harmed in the process. And no open source contributors will be harmed in the process. Right, so I talked about project boards, definitely use that. I mentioned a few other things, so let's have a look before we all forget. As you can see, we have lots of community members in our organization. Feel free to join, and you join our Discord. They're really helpful. They'll help you get your green squares and get involved. So what do I want to show you? Commit messages. So if I go to, I don't know, say this project, and I go to the commit. We talked about how to make an issue stand out, and it's the start of the conversation. We talked about use a similar markdown for your pull request. But there are two things you should know about commits and pull requests. There is a kind of standard that you should use, and some projects customize it a little bit different, but there are some standards. So one thing that we like is you prepend your commit message. You know what? I see a question. How do we make a pull request? Let's just do that, and then we'll make a commit message, and we can all do it together. So that's fine. So who has got, let's do this. Who has got a customized GitHub profile? Even if it's just one line, put your username in the chat, and I'll make a contribution to your project, and I'll show you how to do a pull request, how to do a commit message that's good, and so forth. Because it's important to include the issue number, and it's important to have a format on your commit messages. Different projects have different formats, but if there isn't one, then this is a good one to follow. So don't be shy. If you've got a customized GitHub repo, even if it's just one line or the default template that they give you, that doesn't have to look like this, but you have something like this on your profile, share your GitHub username, and I will try and make a contribution to it, and we'll run through the flow. And we'll talk about some things to avoid. So I will make a small mistake, and then we'll talk about why to avoid it. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, I've grabbed one from the chat. Let's see if it works. Let's get rid of mine. Okay, so you belong to one organization, and I think that's really, really good. And if you can join in one or two more, I think that also looks good. And you've got a customized repo, which I think is great. You're using the template, which is also fine. You should, over time, customize it a little bit more. And if you can get some more green squares over time, I think that look good. But we talked about making contributions. So I can go to your project, and I can have a look, and I can go, okay, what can I change? So you've got your LinkedIn. You've got some of these. Let me think. What changes and improvements can we make? You've got your email. Did you put your email on here? You haven't. I'm just gonna. You don't have to accept this pull request, but we'll just do it as an example. So I'm going to grab your email, and all you have to do on GitHub to make a change is really straightforward. So I'm I'm here on your repo. So you click on the file that you want to change. So in this case, the README. There is a pen at the top right, and it will fork the project already for you and put the file into edit mode. So I hit edit, straight away in edit mode. So one of the things I'm going to change, did anyone notice I didn't raise an issue? Raise an issue, start the conversation, and get the green square. So let me raise an issue first. On this repo, I'm going to say add email to customized profile. Okay, and the things I want to do in this is add email to customized profile, but also what I want to do is remove, there's a lot of blank lines here. I want to remove those. I don't think they're needed. So refactor formatting, okay, for example. But I'm going to erase that, and usually you'd wait, if it's a big piece of work, usually, Eddie, have I done an extra line? And we remove that. Usually you'd wait to get feedback from the maintainer, but as it's a small pull request and not a lot of work, if it gets closed, doesn't get accepted, then I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. So what I'm going to do here is, what do I press? Let me refresh the page. My computer has gone a bit skew with. Leave the page. Hit edit. Right. Delete. And it's always good to end the file on one blank line, but two is not needed. So what I'm thinking is how to reach me. What you could do is I want to make this change. I want to go 1, 2, 3, indent it, say LinkedIn, and then I'm also going to add email. And if I look at this, actually, the LinkedIn one looks like it's kind of a link, but not a link. So what I'm going to do is put square brackets around this to improve the formatting. And now you'll see the LinkedIn one is actually changed to a link. And then what I'm going to do on the email is also put an email, a link. I could put a mail to. There are various things that we can do. But again, let's not get hung up on that. So I'm just going to put mail. I think it's mail to. I haven't used this in years. That. And so that's the improvement. So now when we get to the commit, right, is it behind my head? You can see it. I'll nudge over here. So what you should really do, don't just hit propose change and the commit says update readme. That's not great. What you should do is talk about what you did, but it's going to be really concise, and you can use the description below if you need. So one of the conventions that people use is to prepend it like feature or fix or docs. Another thing you can do is if it's a big project, you'll notice they put brackets in there, put a module like docs, authentication like auth. So in this case, it's not a big project. So I'm just going to say it's a feature, and I want to say email link added to profile. I want to propose a change. I'm going to take me to raise the pull request. It's going to say from Eddie, from my branch patch 1, and we'll talk about branches in a minute. This is a little mistake I spoke about a second ago. And then it's going to go to the main, just the default branch, to the original repo. It's going to show me my changes. Just always check that. Make sure you haven't committed loads of private files or config files or stuff that's on your computer. I think in Mac we have DS store files, and on Windows I can't remember, but you have stuff. Make sure you don't commit those. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to create the pull request. Now it takes me to the title and to the body. So it's always good to write something in here, just like with the issue. But I'm not going to go through the whole Markdown. I'm not going to go through all that again. You can, if you've missed it, you can rewatch that part of the video. But it is important to write something and take a screenshot. I felt adding your email to your custom profile was useful. Also, I fixed some of the formatting. Right, I'm not going to take a screenshot. I'll leave it at that. But the other thing I can do is I can take the YouTube link and add it here and say, this was done as part of this live stream. And I want to add a YouTube link with context, right? So hit create pull request. Now it's there. It's ready for the project maintainer to decide if they want to merge it or request changes, because they could go to file changes. And they could say, click here on the plus and say, actually, I want these spaces or whatever it is. And then I might have to then remove those and so forth. Okay, awesome. So that's how you raise a pull request. And that's how straightforward it is. Don't be scared. You can do it. But one thing I want to make make you all aware of is when you're doing it on the GitHub platform, it's a great way to get started. But when you're doing it locally and you fork the project, do not make changes to the default branch. As you see, GitHub automatically create a branch for me, and it will increment that patch 1, patch 2, and so forth. So you should never contribute to the main branch of a forked repo, or the default branch. Previously it was called master, now it's called main. But you should never put a commit to that branch, because you will get conflicts, because that's the branch that you should keep in sync with the forked project. And it's very easy to do that. And if we get time and you want to see that, I can all show you. But the important part, is to contribute to a branch. Okay, so that's how you raise a pull request, and you should raise an issue first, and that's how you do a commit message. Okay, I think that's, looking good. What questions do you all have for me? And I can look at some of those as well. So if you have any friends that have customized repos, do go have a look and make the contribution. As you can see, the change isn't here because it needs to be accepted and approved by the project maintainer. So that is really, really important to contribute to your friends' projects to practice. But also the other thing I really want to highlight is you're all project maintainers. And that's important because being a maintainer, other people will raise issues, raise pull requests just on your custom profile or any other projects that you have. But you will understand some of the pain points when they raise something and you think, that doesn't really make sense. Like, what do you mean? And you write back, what do you mean? Can you give me an example? Can you explain a bit more? And you'll see the frustration. So therefore, when you raise an issue or pull request or make changes on someone else's project, you will be better at that because you've gone through the other side of the coin. So it's really important to be project maintainers. And I know a lot of you say, hey, I don't have the experience. I can't be a project maintainer yet. But by having a custom profile, you are effectively a project maintainer. And it's a great thing to do. Do contribute to projects and be a project maintainer. You'll learn a lot now. Rahul, please show what? Sorry, can you elaborate? See, if you'd contribute to open source, more often you'll realize that you've got to give context, right? There's a delay in the chat. I've probably moved on a few kind of points. So when you say please show, I can guess what you're talking about, but I don't actually know. So this is why in contributing to open source is important, because it will train you to always give context. And if you get involved in the Discord discussions or discussions on GitHub, then you will realize that you've got to give context. And if there are multiple conversations going on, you'll need to kind of quote the one you're referring to. It's really, really important. Okay, so this issue is done. I did something wrong. I did something wrong. The other thing that I meant to say, and I got distracted, is so if I go back to this pull request, and if you go to commits, one thing, it got merged already. Amisha, thank you very much. One thing I did wrong, if you look at my commits, I told you how to write a good commit message, but I forgot one thing. I'm so sorry. I forgot to include the issue number, because if you look here, I was saving it till the end, and I was saving it that I forgot. So one thing I should have done. So let me make one more pull request, and you'll understand why. Let me do one more. So I'm going to go back. I want to make a change. What changes can we think of? Let's have a look. You got LinkedIn and email. Maybe after the email, we will put it in brackets so people can actually see it. Like this. Again, you don't have to merge this if you don't want to. But what I wanted to show, when you write a message, so you can again be a feature, improved the email section. But one thing that's important to do is mention the issue number. So here, the issue number is 1. You can see that up here, #1. So it's important at the end of it, put it in brackets and go #1. And the reason for this is I want to propose a change. And I'm happy with that change, we can see. I'm going to create the progress as before. You can see GitHub's incremented this patch too. But also, this is the bit I wanted to leave for the end and I forgot. At the top of your pull request, you need to match this number by saying closes or fixes. And you can say 1. And the reason for that is, if you notice, this pull request is now still open, but this issue is now open, but my pull request got merged. And so it's a manual step for the maintainer to go closes and keep on top of this. So by making that new commit with the hash, it also puts in this timeline the commit, as you can see. So what we're going to do the commit here, you can see improve the email section #1, and then you can see improve the email section. So you can click on this, takes you to commit and all the rest. And by doing this in the top of it's usually done at the top of the description of the pull request, made another improvement to the email. Let's leave it at that, keep it nice and short and sweet. But when I hit create, we usually keep that at the top. Now, not only can you click on it and go straight to the issue that's referring to, also in the issue timeline, it gives you the pull request and the status that it's at. And if Amisha, if I pronounce your name right, Amisha, if you could do me one more favor and merge this pull request, then everyone will see that this issue will automatically get closed. Therefore, it's easier for the maintainer to keep on top of it. So you've got to make it easier for a maintainer all the time. And there wasn't any extra effort to add this at the top with the issue number and to our commit message, add it to that as well. I'm really conscious of time. We're approaching an hour, and I really want to get more into your questions. So I hope that helps. How can we export our REPL to GitHub? Jocelyn, if I pronounced that right, I don't use REPL, so I don't know, but there must be a way. I'm sure there is a way, and hopefully someone in this community can help you. If not, join our community. I'm sure someone's done that before. If not, they probably would like to learn how to do it, and we'll go figure it out with you. I was a project maintainer in October of 2020. Roll, nice. Please show us how to make another branch and then make contributions. So you can create branches. If I go back to one of my projects, support, you can create branches in 2 ways. You can go on GitHub and you can go to the branch dropdown, and then you can type in a branch name, for example, test branch. I suggest you don't use the name like that. And then it will create a branch from the branch that we're on. So if you want to create a branch from another one, switch that branch first, then try and create it. So by searching for it, if it doesn't exist, GitHub presents create test branch from main branch. So that's how you can create, that's how you can create one on GitHub. And if you want to do one locally on the command line, would people like to see it on the command line and how to keep your fork up to date, then let me know and we can have a look at that. So this got merged, thank you so much. And then you can see this issue got closed. So they all ties together. So you can see that this issue got closed and so forth. And if I refresh the page, you can see that the pull request got merged. So thank you very much for merging that. Hopefully that was a contribution you wanted. Go and delete it if you don't want it. So hopefully that helps. Okay, please show us to make another branch and then make contributions. So hopefully that helped, but let me show you on the command line if you want as well. So what we need to do, if we go back to this this repo, if I bring up my terminal, okay, here's my terminal, I'll make it a lot bigger for you. Hopefully that's legible. Let's bring this up here. So what you need to do, you go somewhere on your computer. So in my case, I go to download the repo. So what you do, if you want to contribute to a project via a command line, which gives you a lot more flexibility, you need to do a few things. You need to fork the project, but I have done that already. So if I go to my profile, by me contributing via the UI, it automatically forked it for me. So if I go to repositories, you can see it's up here. So if I click on it, and then I can clone it. I do recommend SSH to clone. So now I can go git clone the project. I get asked for a password because my SSH keys have passwords on them. Yours might not. And don't forget to navigate into the project. And then now I'm in this project and we can see that. So if I do a push and pull and I make changes to this, let's make another change and do a push and pull, and you'll see this. So if I do code and open VS Code, oops, opened on another screen. Let me drag that over. Apologies, I'll show you, doing a quick preview of behind the scenes. This is my messy setup. So hi everyone, apologies for that. It appeared on a different screen. Let me just bring this over. And here we go. It's bigger, make it full screen. So let's make another change. So now what we want to do, if you notice that this has the old changes, because my fork was made before they were merged in. So of course, it's going to be out of date. So I need to update my fork. I know what a lot of people do. They delete the fork and recreate it. And that's not very good for many reasons. So one thing I suggest, and I have to remind myself, because I have a lot of shorthand commands for these, so I'm going to use the full commands for you, so I might have to look it up, but it's okay. It's knowing, you don't have to know everything in tech. Actually, this is a kind of a good, dovetails into a good point. You don't have to know everything in tech, but you need to be aware of things and know where to look for things. So I know if I forget one of these commands, I know exactly where to look for it. Right, so what we do is I've got the project. So one thing you do now, I cloned the project. So the origin of the remote will be my fork, and I can show that to you. I can go git remote -v, and the origin is my my account and then the repo. So it's my fork. So if I push and pull, it's in my fork, and my fork's already 2 commits out of date already. So, oh, I clicked on the wrong button. Sorry. Thank you. Screen's not visible. Thank you very much for letting us know in the chat. Okay, so yeah, so as I was quickly saying, I've opened, so what did you miss? VS Code was where it all went wrong. So right, I opened VS Code. You can see the code is the old version of the code because my fork was created before. So what I need to do is check the remote. And the remote is my fork, which is correct. And if I pull from that and pull from that and pull from that, then I'm not going to get the new versions because they're in the original repo, which is called the upstream. So what I need to do is add another remote so I can pull down the changes. Well, actually fetch, because fetch means to grab it and then I'll merge it in, whereas a pull does a fetch and a merge. So just keep that in mind. So let's have a look. So what I need to do is add a remote for the upstream. So what I need to do is go to the original repo, which we have over here. And again, do the same thing. I grab the URL, and then what I would do is go git remote. So in Git, there's loads of commands, but you only need to know, like, on a daily basis, like 3 or 4, and then a few remote commands when you fork a project. So in total, like 6 commands is all you need. Don't let the command line scare you. So you go git remote add. In this case, we're adding one called upstream. We've already got one called origin, which is our fork version. And then we paste in, let me make this a bit bigger. And then we paste in the URL of the original repo. So if you look, origin is mine, but upstream is to be the original repo. I hit enter. So now if we just clear this, and if I do a git remote -v, what do you expect to see? Expect to see 2. So you've got the origin, and now you've got upstream. So that's awesome. So let's go grab those changes. So what we need to do is we need to go git fetch upstream. I'm pretty sure that's the one. I have to put my password for my key. This is not the password for the repo or anything. It depends how you have your SSH key set up. And so now it says that it's brought down some new changes. So now if I look again though into VS Code, again, nothing's changed because I've brought it down. I've got the code locally, but it's not in my working branch yet. It's not in my space. So nothing has changed. If I do a git log, you will see the log was from Friday the 22nd, which wasn't me today on the 24th. So now if I want to bring them in, this is why I say never commit to the default branch, because if I had done some commits to this branch, then when I bring down the new changes, I could get conflicts depending on how the maintainer merged it. Did they squash it? Did they rebase it? Depending on what they did. So that's why your changes should go in a branch, which we'll do in a second. Hopefully you're all still awake and haven't fallen asleep yet, and this is fun, and we will do that. I'm really conscious of time, so maintainers, hopefully I'm okay for another 10 minutes or so. So now I've got, this is a command I always forget because I have shorthands for this. So now we want to do git merge upstream main, because we don't want to merge main, we want to merge the upstream main. We have it locally because a git pull does a fetch and a merge. So we do this in 2 steps. So now if I do that, you can see it says changed and it's been merged in. So if I do a git log now, you should see 2 from me, 24th and 24th. So you can see. So now if we go to VS Code, you can see we've got the LinkedIn, the email, and I removed all these extra spaces at the top. The next change I'm going to do is really silly. I'm just going to put there's 2 dots here. I'm just going to put a 3rd dot on there. And that's it. So if I hit save, and if I do a git status, always do a git status before you do a commit. Check what you're committing. So now I've got a git status. I'm happy that the README file is the one that's changed. I'm not going to add any private files or any kind of temporary files that my computer makes. And the other thing to do, you can do a git diff, and it can actually show you, as you saw, diff in the Markdown with the minus and the plus, what's being added and what's being removed. I'm happy with that. Let's commit that. So I will use the same issue number as before. So I'm going to do a git commit -m, and in here we will put the message. So we'll say it's a feature, and we'll say refactored, no, not refactored, we'll say improved. And the issue number was 1, and that was in brackets as well. It's a style that a lot of people go for. And then after this is where it gets a bit complicated. There's a couple of, with Git, there's so many different ways to do things. So I could put the file name here, and it will commit that file name. But then you could also stage it and not put the file name there. So to keep it simple, I always put the file name here. And if you don't have too many changes, then you don't need to stage and unstage and do all those things. It's only when you want to partially commit some of the changes you have locally and that are within the same file do you need to stage. So I've done a commit. So now I can't push it to the upstream. I don't have permissions to push it to the original repo. I need to push it to my fork. So git push origin. Oh, I committed to main. Oh, I made a mistake. None of you told me. I thought we were all pair programming together. I didn't create the branch. So what we can do actually is I can undo this commit, and be careful when undoing commits. So it's not something I want you to take away with you necessarily, because you can undo someone else's commit. So what I want to do, if I remember correctly, is git reset ---- soft, and we can say head1, which means I think that's a command. I forget. It's been a long time since I used it. So we can do even one better. What we can do is we can take that commit over to a new branch. So we can go git checkout -b, and we'll say we'll call it, I don't know, reformatting the branch. Reformatting, no, refactoring. What should we call it? What do you think in the thing? I can't stash because I've already committed it. So if you look, if I do a git status, it's already committed to this branch. So I can remove it from that branch. It's not a problem. But also, if I create a new branch, it will take it over with me, which I will do now. So let's just create the branch. Stash as if it wasn't committed. Let's have a look. Oh, heads not in capitals. I think that's why. I can't remember. I never undo commit. So it's something very rare I do, or it's soft lowercase. I can't remember which one it is. Is it head like that? I'm pretty sure that's capitals. Anyway, that doesn't matter. The point I want to show you is creating the branch. So git branch. I can just say issue1 because that's what I called it. I can say issue1. Now I'm in the branch. You can see from here it says I'm in issue1. And if I do a git log, it has got the commit I did a minute ago. Look at the time, it was a minute ago, and I could even go git what changed, and it will show me what files have changed. So now I want to push that to my fork. So git push origin, I want to push it to this branch, issue1 branch. I can't push it to the upstream. I cannot push it to the original repo. So now if I go back to here, look, GitHub already tells me 1 minute ago, issue1 got created, compare and make a pull request. Yes, please. Oh, wow, it's already picked my branch, it's already picked my repo, and it's already picked the destination repo. Silly little change for an example. Smiley face, or nerd face. Here we go. My nerd face is the one I usually use. And you can see the changes down here, just as before. Create pull request. And that is it. And that's the process you need to get through. So you fork a project, you clone it, you clone your fork, and then you create a branch, make your changes, push it up to your fork, raise the pull request, and then you fetch and merge any changes coming back down into the default branch. Mohit, yes, you can do ~1, but the caret, the hat symbol, is an alternative shorthand. So I can try it your way as well and just see. Soft should be lowercase, I think. Maybe that's why. I can't remember. Like I said, it's not something I do that often. Let's try one as well. Yeah, I think you're right. If I do a git status, it's there. And if I go to VS Code, so that worked. Thank you very much, Mohit. That's awesome. You can see the change is still there. So now I can remove that change. And then This stage, I have to unstage it, so I have to go git, I think it's reset to unstage it. I can't remember. I don't use staging, so that's now unstaged. So you can see the M has gone red, and then I can really go git checkout. And there's so many different ways you can do this, so don't worry too much about this. So now if I do a git status, oh, can't spell status, it should be disappeared, nothing there. And then in the code base, it's gone. But that should be on the main branch, not an issue. Anyway, let's have a look at the questions. So hopefully that helps. So that pull request is up. By the way, oh, you merged it already. I was going to say, don't feel like you have to merge it. But thank you very much. And I usually delete my branches out of my repos afterwards as well, because they're short-lived branches. Awesome. So how is everyone doing? Hopefully I've got you excited about, let me go back to my notes and check that I haven't missed anything. Hopefully I've got you excited about contributing to open source. And it's great that you're writing answers in the chat, right? Because I mean, this chat is not about personal branding, but it is important to use the same name across all platforms, right? Because say, for example, someone wrote hello in the chat and then they send me a LinkedIn invite or their CV appears on my desk or whatever it is, then I'm probably not going to remember it, or their name might be different on YouTube to GitHub to Twitter and so forth. But for example, Mohit Singh helped me, added value. That name and that profile picture I'm gonna remember. And so when I see their DM message on LinkedIn or their invitation on LinkedIn or whatever it is, or if I'm hiring for a client, a CV comes across my desk, I remember that person. They're using the same name, the same profile picture across all platforms, so it's easy to recognize it. I'm gonna think, you know what, this person added value straight away, top of the list. You're gonna make the short list without any effort, without even anyone looking at your work, because in the tech industry, it's becoming more and more about communication, collaboration, and the right attitude over technical skills, because technical skills can be taught. However, attitude is a lot more difficult to teach. So get involved in the conversation. And if you give some advice or some suggestions and it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world. You tried and we'll all learn together. So hopefully that has been useful. I'm just checking my notes. We talked about branching, commit messages, Markdown, and that you should all be maintainers to get to the other side. Use GitHub more and more. GitHub Actions, we don't have time to go into today, but it is amazing. It's a continuous integration. It runs on different events for GitHub. And I think it's really, really important to use that, even just for the simplest things. So shall we conclude? I'm sure you're all quite tired and ready to fall asleep. Let's conclude. Number one, get involved in the conversation open source. Just do it. Any way you can add value, even by asking the question, it's really important. Do it little and often. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Use the same name across all your platforms, and ideally the same profile picture so people can recognize you. And yeah, just get involved. I cannot encourage you enough. And I guarantee you in 6 months, a year, 3 years, whatever it is, you'll be like, I'm glad I did that. That was really, really good. And you'll learn each time you do it, and you'll meet new people, you'll grow your network. So if any of you do want to reach out, if you want to learn more about open source, I do have a YouTube channel. You're welcome to go have a look at that. And we have a Discord channel. We have a GitHub org that I showed you as well. You're welcome to join and get involved in the conversation, meet other community members. We had a great hackathon last week with the community. They came first, they all worked together, they collaborated so well. I was super impressed. I'd love for all of you to get involved. And my username, Eddie Jaoude, is across all platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. So you'll find me, YouTube, you'll find me everywhere on that. I look forward to geeking out with you more. Thank you for all the positive feedback. I love that. If you want to do GirlScript, and me a favor, there's something you actually can do. Take a screenshot of the live stream and share it on socials, and I will definitely like it. But if you want to get a retweet or reshare so I can put you in front of my community, which I love doing, add value to the share. And what I mean by that is there are people who weren't on this live stream. So when they see the live stream, if you just share it saying great live stream and a picture of us live streaming, then they'll be like, oh, okay, like, and I'll be like, okay, like. But if you share any notes you made or one tip that stuck in your mind and stood out, like if you said, here's the screenshot, I said, great session with GirlScript and Eddie, and do tag me so I get notified. My favorite tip was brushing your teeth or whatever, then I'm going to be like, oh, great, that adds value. So now I'm going to reshare it in my community, because then you've added value to that post. And then the value in return to you is everyone in my community gets to discover your Twitter account, LinkedIn profile, and all the rest. So it's really important. I do see this as a two-way street. I'm just like you, and I want to share value and grow my network just like you as well. So awesome. Thank you for all the positive feedback. I really appreciate that. Look forward to geeking out with you all. And if you do send LinkedIn invite, do let me know you came from this session. I get hundreds of LinkedIn invites like per hour. I'm so behind on my LinkedIn. But the ones that stand out, the ones with messages saying, I was at, GirlScript, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, oh, great. Now I know it's not just some random on the internet. So yeah, really keen to get to know you all, geek out with you more. And I'm sure there are some more hackathons coming out this year where we can all geek out and get involved in open source and meet more people in the community. So I think I better stop talking there, because you've probably all fallen asleep, and I need a drink from my awesome GitHub water USB water bottle. So yes, I need a drink from this. And give this live stream a thumbs up as well to help support GirlScript's YouTube channel, and share it with your friends and your colleagues if you think they'll find it useful. Hopefully the organizers will come back on now and let me know if I've missed any questions or they want to do a wrap up. Let me know.
Yes, thank you, Eddie, for this wonderful session.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you all for joining us. It was great. Thank you all for the amazing questions. Anything else you'd like me to add?
I think we are good to go now, so we can end today's session.
Okay, awesome. Sorry I went a bit over on the time. I look forward to geeking you all out with you on GitHub.
Okay.